What's up, y'all? Hey, man, this is Pound ATL. We got some guests in here with me and JR tonight, man. All the What's Up Falcons podcast family is joining us tonight, man. And we got some stuff we want to talk about and get off our chest as we get into this things going on with this coronavirus, practicing social distancing, staying safe at home. What's going on, y'all?
What's going on, man? Trying to get through it. Like I said, just hope it don't affect football season. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. It's going to affect football season. They're talking about games without fans. But either way, I'll take a game without fans. I can watch Jameis Winston throw 30 for 30 without fans.
I can too, man.
That much is for sure.
Yeah, but definitely, man, it's crazy, man.
He probably appreciate it if there was no fans there and he threw 30 for 30 in this season.
Jameis, yeah, I'm sure.
I'm starting to wonder if he's even going to be on a team come this season.
That's exactly what I'm wondering too.
I know nobody wants to.
Yeah, I'm wondering that too.
Somebody might pick him up as a not a starter. Yeah, as a backup.
Yeah, that's gonna be real interesting. Between the fact that he's still out there and Cam Newton's still out there, that surprised me at this point.
And I heard today somebody else was still out there. They're even lowering their asking price. I think it was Clowney.
I was about to say Clowney definitely needs to lower his asking price.
Yeah, I think he did
because he hasn't lived up to the hype or the billing as of yet.
No, his last name suits him well.
Yeah, very much.
He's a damn clown.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a great run defender, but you're not paying a run defender $20-something million a year.
Exactly.
So, not from the defensive end. I mean, look, that's what Brooks Reed did for us.
Right.
You know, you wouldn't pay Brooks Reed $20-something million a year, so why would you pay Clowney that much money?
I've never been a fan of Clowney, man, especially what he did his senior year at South Carolina, where at the very last minute he decided to sit.
Yeah, he disappeared basically.
Yeah, just so he can save himself for the.
Yeah, I mean he basically disappeared that whole senior year.
Right.
He showed you what he was about, and he was about trying to cash in, which he's still about trying to cash in.
Exactly.
That's why he's not in Houston right now.
Right. You're 100% right.
Of course, that could be.
But so anyway, what's that, Toby?
Yeah, no. I was saying, of course, that could be Bill O'Brien's doing, like the DeAndre Hopkins situation.
Oh yeah, no, he's a nutcase right there. They need to get a real GM in that city, because Bill O'Brien, he ain't no Belichick. That much is for sure.
Absolutely not.
Not at all.
Well, I'm waiting to see what Belichick is without Brady this year. We're gonna see if it was truly Brady or if it was Belichick. But I'm interested to see what was what.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
I think even if it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see who.
Yeah. I was saying I really think that it's going to be interesting with that. But I think, say that Tom Brady. Everyone's going to expect Brady to make the Bucs win another Super Bowl, if not, this coming up Super Bowl, the next one. But I think if Belichick goes back far into, as far as he goes, he'll be all right. I don't think people will.
I mean, he's in the right division to do it, so the cards are in his hand.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be considered a failure.
Oh, for sure.
So is there a quarterback in New England?
As of right now, you got Brian Hoyer and Jared Stidham. So that's your QB room as it stands right now in New England.
I'm wondering if they'll grab Cam Newton.
I was just going to say that, Q.
That would be interesting. Him or Winston. Either one of them would be interesting up there.
No, I think Cam is better than Winston by far.
Oh, I think I agree with you there. I think Cam is more proven than Winston. But I think they be interested to see who ends up in New England. I think one of them very well could.
Hello?
So, Mike, now turning our attention back towards the hometown team, what are y'all's feeling so far as free agency has kicked off? the moves that we have made, and do you guys feel like we've done enough, given what the draft is going to be, right, to go, at least into the playoffs or make another Super Bowl run? I know it's early. I know we're in the spring and all, and we're not even into any all-season programs yet. But as the roster is currently constructed, how are y'all feeling about it?
Well, I still think they should still keep an eye on defensive ends. I know they went and got your guy from the Rams, but I think they're still going to need more coming off those ends, at least some depth in that position,
No, I tend to agree there. I mean, you got they re-signed Steven Means, and then you got a couple of inside-out guys in Kaminsky and Bailey.
Right.
But they definitely need some more depth behind.
I mean, you
behind Dante Fowler and Tack McKinley.
Yeah, exactly. McKinley, yeah. So they're still trying to work with McKinley to get him, where he needs to be. So, like I said, still got to have that depth because you can't depend on McKinley right now with the injury that he's been.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I definitely can't depend on Tack.
No.
With his injury and his head, man. I don't. He's going to be next, right after Beasley, man. I don't think that.
I think so.
Yeah.
It spoke volumes the fact that they didn't pick up his fifth-year option.
Mm-hmm.
To me, because you saw what the fifth-year option did as far as Beasley went, and also in the same breath, you saw what the fifth-year option netted you with Keanu Neal. So I think that is, with his shoulder history, I think that's, scared him off as far as McKinley is concerned. Right. He's going to have to put together a strong, full 16-game season, I think, to be back next year.
And go ahead, Toby.
I hadn't said, but I believe we got more out of John Abraham and Croy Bierman than we did out of Tack McKinley and Vic Beasley.
Wow, that's saying a lot.
I'll take Croy Bierman.
I agree.
I
agree.
Yeah, I would definitely take Bierman and the Predator over Busley and McKinley so far.
I know, man.
Busley, wow, that's a new one I haven't heard. That's funny.
I hope that basically getting not negotiated with, the fact that the team came out and said that they weren't going to negotiate with you, I hope that lights a fire under him in Tennessee. I mean, I really do, because I was legit excited when we drafted him, 8th overall.
Yeah.
That was the guy I wanted. Right. He had the production in college, tested off the charts at the combine.
Right.
I felt like that this was going to be, our Cliff Averill.
Right.
And, man, he didn't even turn into Bruce Irvin.
Not at all.
So,
and I got a little tidbit about Beasley before he even went to the draft.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What'd you got?
Well, I worked for Fox Sports South. And we had a show out during that time called The Panel. And
okay.
Our last episode or season of that show, Vic Beasley and your boy, the running back from Dallas, Ezekiel, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott, right.
They both were on that show, so they actually came out to the studio. We got to meet him and everything. The guy who was the producer of the show, after he did his interview with Vic, he said, that guy's not going to make it, man, in the NFL. I can tell by his demeanor. He doesn't even have that. He's not going to make it.
Right. He just doesn't even have that. It just didn't seem like he had that killer instinct.
Right.
And regardless of how it ends up playing out, the fact that Dante Fowler is openly saying that he's gunning for Strahan's, sack title.
Right.
Like, if nothing else, I'm like, well, at least he's got some gumption.
Yeah, he wants to be here and do something.
Right. At least he's wanting to be great. That's something that we hadn't had the past 5 years. Whether he ends up being great or not is, remains to be seen. But at least he's wanting it.
You know how you got people at work that just there for a check? That's how I feel about Beasley. Just there to get that check,
Oh yeah.
Not really.
No, I agree completely.
Exactly.
And one more thing about Beasley.
I agree also.
One more thing about Beasley. If you look on YouTube, and they had some back when in his heyday, Falcons had some of those like those mic'd up moments where you can hear them talking down on the field. And so they had one of Vic. It's on YouTube, and he seemed pretty hyped and motivated. If you listen to him, man, he was rooting people on. He was really motivating everybody. He was upbeat, and he sounded excited. But it didn't look that way. The actions didn't do that way, but he was acting that way. So y'all should look that up on YouTube. That's a very interesting video. I think the Falcons put it out.
I'd have to go back and check that out.
Yeah.
So now, okay, so we added Dante Fowler. So that was, a move that I don't think many people necessarily thought we were going to be able to pull off with the particular cap scene that we were in. They must have taken a lesson from the New Orleans Saints as far as making some cap space out of nothing.
Right.
Because I think when the offseason started, didn't we have something like $3 or $4 million in cap space? And I guess credit to Matt Ryan and a handful of other guys for restructuring their contracts. I don't know exactly, how y'all feel about that. Some people get bent out of shape when the guys do or don't restructure. It doesn't really bother me one way or the other.
Well, Matt better get tired of them dipping in his wallet.
Well, yeah, he's going to get tired of it. But if he wants some players, he's.
Matt say, "Look, I don't earn this money. Y'all keep taking it back."
I mean, that's eventually what soured Tom Brady in New England, or part of what soured it. The amount of times that he didn't, that he took less for the team, so to speak.
Right.
Just to watch Belichick continue to ship off his talent. But
exactly.
So we covered that in that aspect. What are y'all's feelings about Todd Gurley? What do you think he brings to the table?
Q.
Well, that depends on what Todd Gurley we get. Do we get a half healthy Todd Gurley?
Yeah. LG's pretty much laying it out exactly what I was saying. A healthy Todd Gurley, I think he might actually perform better than Freeman, but we have to wait to see what version of Gurley we get. I don't know what version of Gurley we're going to get.
So now, if I'm not mistaken, Q, aren't you out there in California?
No, I'm in Georgia. Georgia, born and raised in Georgia.
No, who's out in California?
And I am a Bulldog. That's Aries.
He's not on the call tonight.
But he's
not on the call. Okay, so that.
But I am a guy that watched every single game that Gurley played in, and at Georgia he was a beast.
The angle that I was right, the angle that I was going after was like maybe like some sports talk radio out on that side of the coast, so to speak. But if the gentleman's not on the call tonight, then that's an angle that doesn't need to be broached.
He did address it on
it's definitely going to come down to.
If you want to check that out later,
Sir?
he did address it on our show. We asked him about it as well.
Okay.
If you want to check out one of those.
Cool.
Yeah, we're gonna check that
definitely.
out. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, and for the folks listening to this, if y'all haven't checked out the What's Up Falcons podcast, y'all definitely need to give them a listen. They do a real good job, very entertaining as far as yet another, fan perspective on our Atlanta Falcons. I know there's a lot of them out there, but these guys have been doing it for quite a long time now. How long have y'all actually been going, Rock?
About 5 seasons, man.
5 seasons, nice.
Yep. Coming up on our 6th.
I know y'all been going for a while.
Yep. We had back when Corey Bierman was here. So
that's right.
We have a lot of good audio about Corey Bierman.
Oh yeah, go listen to the old shows.
Yeah, definitely go back into the archives for that one. Oh man. So, but moving right along, do y'all believe it's something that I saw? It was a tweet, I think, by Kelsey Conway, I think is who it was. that had to do with Rich McKay and what he thought, the impact of the cap and all this other stuff. And it really sounded like he was the one that was making the decisions. So how much of an impact do you think Rich McKay is having on the organization this time around, as far as with what Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff are trying to do?
I think he's the enforcer.
Right.
I think, Arthur
so you're
Blank,
thinking that these guys are having to run all this stuff by.
Yeah. I think Arthur's kind of, if you can look at it seems like a gangster movie. And they had to call the enforcer in. So Arthur doesn't have to be dealing with this stuff. So he told Rich, do what you have to do, but I have to have a winning team. I'm tired of being embarrassed. So they have to go through you, and don't take it easy on them. And not those terms.
Okay.
Say what, Toby?
I agree with everything you just said, Rock, because that seems exactly what is happening right now. Even though he said he wasn't going to be basically persuading them to make certain decisions, I think that is actually what is happening. You're not hearing a lot from Thomas Dimitroff, if you notice, during this whole period.
That's true. I haven't heard from him in a while.
So, it sounds like Rich McKay is kind of taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, and making some things happen.
Mm.
And I tend to agree with that. I think there towards the end, Arthur Blank was too close to it in a sense.
Yep.
Almost viewed like Thomas Dimitroff and then via, Dan Quinn as almost like your children in a sense, and you don't want to get mad at them or you don't want to yell at them or whatever.
Right.
And I think he didn't help the situation too many times how many times did he go out and say, I want this player to be a Falcon for life? That we've brought that up on our show quite a bit. That doesn't help the negotiation table,
That doesn't, and also dabbing in the locker room doesn't help either.
Right, exactly. So, with that being said,
so it's kind of like bringing in your big brother. When your little brothers are doing, this and that, and they're still not getting it right. So you bring in your big brother to kind of give you some like that brotherly advice. So that's why they bringing Rich McKay back into the mix. To give him that extra, into what's going on the field. So and the decision making, that's the way I look at it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got those two brothers that still can't get it right. So let's bring Big Brother in here.
Right.
And
try to help out with the situation. Right.
Exactly.
And I think now, the stadium is 100% complete. Everything's working there. And now I feel like, Rich McKay could definitely focus his attention back on what's going on the football side of the business, of the team.
Right.
And also, let's just go ahead and call it. When Scott Pioli stepped down or left for whatever reason he left, there was a vacuum in talent evaluation. So, I know a lot of people don't necessarily like him. I for the most part like Thomas Dimitroff. I think he does a better job than most. Yeah, I'm not saying he's the greatest GM out there, but he tends to bring in the players that the coach want, or at least tries to. Now, obviously, it's not up to him how they get used or how they get coached, but at least he tries to get the players that the coaches want. And I've always felt like he's done a pretty good job with the cap situation.
Right.
I think the only real bad contract I can distinctly remember was the Sam Baker one. And now, if there was another one that was horrible, y'all can remind me. I know there's that one. Yeah, Sam Baker's contract was horrible.
Yeah.
But it was a move where you thought that's where the market was going for left tackles.
Right.
He just bet on the wrong left tackle.
Jamal Anderson.
Was Thomas Dimitroff Jamal Anderson?
I thought that was. It was? I
I
thought
thought it was.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was before then, but I could be wrong on that one. Now I know the pass rusher out of Minnesota that we signed. What was that guy's name? I'm drawing a blank on him.
God.
He was only here for a season. They cut him 2 or 3 games into the next season.
Was
He
that
tried to go be.
Oh,
was that before Vic?
oh,
Yeah.
no, it's, oh my God, Edwards. And
Ray Edwards.
yeah, Ray Edwards.
Is that
Mm-hmm.
now? I can't necessarily blame Dimitrov on that one. He had a productive season. Granted, he was playing with a lot of extremely talented people
Right.
up in Minnesota. So you thought that's what you were getting, and he ended up being a bum. You know, so you can blame him for a bad free agent signing there. But all in all, I feel like Dimitrov has done a decent job, not a stellar job, not an Ozzie Newsome job in Baltimore, but I think he's done a pretty decent job. But he's not always had a great eye for the trenches.
Right.
As far as like offensive lineman or defensive lineman. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't McKay have a hand in the Tampa defense that won their Super Bowls?
Him and Tony Dungy worked very well and closely to bringing that Tampa 2 defense together. So he knows all about it, which is a great reason why you got Raheem Morris at the helm calling the defense.
Right. So I'm curious to see what his input on the draft scouting talent is going to produce for the Falcons in this year's draft.
Right.
Yeah,
Speaking of the draft,
I just wonder how we go from 2016 brotherhood to undercover brother. You know, overnight, you know. It just boggles my mind.
I might have to use that.
To the way that we look now, man, I just can't figure that out, man. Just balled out.
I don't know, man.
2016.
It's
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think stuff like the brotherhood can come and go pretty quickly.
Right.
If that makes sense, especially once the business side of things comes in.
Right.
Right.
Now, I will say, as much as last season was extremely frustrating, I do not believe that Dan Quinn lost the locker room, because there was too many reports coming out of players, speaking up about Dan Quinn.
Right.
And
Well, you can tell the way they
about
played
that
at the end
coaching
of the
staff.
season. You can tell the way they played at the end. They still
Right.
on their side.
Now,
Yeah.
I think the big misstep for the first part of the season was that crazy, what was it, the 5-2-3 or whatever the formation they were trying to run on defense.
Yeah.
That defense was bad.
Right. And I think the guys didn't adjust to it as quick as they thought that they were going to.
Right.
And so when you let Ulbrich and Morris take over, they went back to, what the guys knew.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you saw a turnaround, you know?
But see, so do you blame Quinn then for last season? Because he
Yes.
was ultimately the guy.
But go ahead.
I said he was mostly ultimate the guy, so
But-
you don't blame him.
Yes, in a lot of ways, I do blame Quinn for last season. He should have realized that what he was trying to do wasn't working,
Right.
and should have made the switch sooner. Okay.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that lands on his head. Now, I personally am willing to let him try to redeem himself.
Right.
This is a coach that, yes, you can say it was Shanahan and his offense, however you want to put it. This is a coach that took us to the Super Bowl. Okay.
Right.
The defense in the second half of the season was part of the reason that turned that around and led us to be as dominant as we were. We were starting to get turnovers and stuff like that. That was, the defense made a huge leap in the second half of 2016. Now, I think
Right.
Dan Quinn's first mistake last year, or at the end of the previous season, was firing Marquand Manuel.
Yeah.
Like, I saw no reason to fire Marquand Manuel. Like, if you wanted to fire Steve Sarkisian, sure, go ahead, whatever. But he overcorrected, right? He had a bunch of guys who didn't necessarily have NFL experience. He got rid of them and brought in a whole bunch of people who had a ton of NFL experience.
Right.
Well, that didn't necessarily produce a winner either.
Right. He
You
just
know,
tried to
so-
turn this into Seattle, man, the Legion of Boom. And the Legion of Boom, I hate to say it, but those players seem to have a better understanding, I guess, of what they were trying to do, a higher, I guess, football IQ than
Just see
our
it. They have more
defense.
talent. They have more talent.
Well, not necessarily the talent, but I mean the understanding. I'm not going to call them stupid, but you know, they're not all like Richard Sherman. That's what I'm trying to say.
What Dan Quinn realized
Right.
that
You had guys who were perfectly equipped for the scheme that they were running. Okay.
Exactly.
And the catalyst for that, if you want to talk about talent, right, and where the talent really lies, the catalyst of that was Earl Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I like Ricardo Allen, he's not Earl Thomas.
Right.
And that's what we
You know-
thought Keanu O'Neal was going to be, you know?
Well, you thought, yeah, you figured Keanu was going to be at bare minimum Cam Chancellor, right, knocking people's heads off.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
and he still may be. You know, we given a chance to stay healthy. You know, he may very well be Cam Chancellor for us. We just have to see if he can stay healthy, you know, for more than, you know, a full season.
Right.
Well,
So-
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this right here. Scrap the Seattle defense, cause that's no longer here. It's dead.
Exactly.
What you saw, what in my mind, what you saw last year was a mix of Raheem Moore's defense and a mix of what Jeff Albrecht learned when he was with the 49ers. That's what you saw, and that's what you're going to continue to see. Dan Quinn has realized very quickly, and here's going back to Rich McKay. I think Rich McKay quickly realized is that the schemes don't work that you have implemented, which is the reason why there's no longer the Shanahan offense. It's gone. If y'all didn't know it, Dirk Cutter has officially taken over and calling. What he had to do was learn the terminology of his offense, okay, so that he can relay that to the guys and what he want to call based on what he's used to calling. That's the only thing. But now that his offense is in, I'm hoping that there is improvement since it's the offense that Matt Ryan and Julio Jones like. So let's see what happens when it gets to 2020. Hopefully we can have us some football and the coronavirus don't affect us, but we'll see. But forget about these schemes, guys. They're gone. There's no more talking about Cam Chancellor, no more talking about Earl Thomas or Richard Sherman. It is now Raheem Morris and Jeff Albrecht defense.
And I agree with that. And I completely hope that Dan Quinn realizes that he's the head coach and just becomes the CEO. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, he tried to
and
do too much.
let these guys that you put in charge be in charge.
Well, I
You
think
know-
I think he learned that lesson the hard way.
Between Marco Emanuel, Steve Sarkisian, and Dirk Cutter, and now Raheem Morris and Jeff Ulbrich. Yes, hopefully he has learned that lesson. Now my question is to y'all: are y'all willing to? Obviously, we ain't got much of a choice in the matter, but as should we be willing to let them, play this out? You see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people still want these guys gone,
Right.
and want a clean slate, but I feel like if you've learned this lesson, let's see if you can implement it. Is what I'm getting at here.
Right. What do you think,
I
Al?
mean, I'm still worried about the offensive call plays. I'm still worried about that. I mean, you got so much talent on the offense. We just could not get anything going. No explosive plays at all half the season. And that still worries me as far as the offensive side, as far as, getting explosive plays this season. I mean, what is this guy going to do to turn this around, from a play call's perspective?
I agree, Al. I agree. I'm right with you.
Yeah, I mean, now you're adding Todd Gurley. If you can't make it with this guy, I mean, I don't know. You just add another piece of, equipment, to this Porsche that you got.
Right.
And how you going to make it go fast, this time? Or are you going to leave it in the garage?
Right.
So we'll see.
I agree with you too, man. I agree with you too. I think this year It's the year of the coaches, or whatever season it is. It's going to be the year of coaching. We've done the whole swapping out players. We know who's working and who's not. They did all that. Now it's the season of the coaches, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
No, I definitely agree with that. This season is going to come down to what the coaches can produce. There's something that I've said a handful of times as far as it goes with Dirk Cutter. He seems to be only as good as his elite talent is. He really relies on his talent to beat their man, so to speak. You know, you got some coaches who scheme guys open, and some coaches who scheme for situations, and some coaches that just line up and let you go. And Dirk Cutter seems to be very much a line up, and your talent should win out against their talent. Okay. So you've surrounded him with some extremely talented pieces now. And we haven't even begun to scratch the surface on what do y'all think Hayden Hurst is going to bring to the table. And what are y'all's thoughts and opinions on how Austin Hooper has left Atlanta for the Browns now?
I mean,
I think it's a good pickup. It's a good pickup for the Browns. I think it's a good pickup.
I agree. It's a good pickup for the Browns. I'll give them that.
Especially with all the stuff they have going on. But go ahead.
I was talking about I was kind of referring to the comments that he made up there, talking about when we played against Baker Mayfield, his arm jumped out and his talent jumped out to him.
Well, I think
they did beat us. They did beat us that day. So
I think Nick Chubb beat us.
Pretty much.
But I think with the tight end that they picked up from the Ravens, like I said, with the right scheme, the right play call, they can still make this work without Hooper. I think this guy got enough talent and speed to get the job done if used correctly, you know. And that's what all of our other players on offense.
I wish we could have kept Hooper.
I mean,
I wish we had kept Hooper. I was fine with the one guy going to the Patriots. I can't remember his name.
Eric
Sauber.
No. The receiver we sent to the Patriots this season, last season.
Oh, you talking about
Sanu. I was fine with losing Sanu. I'd rather have Austin Hooper over Sanu. But I know we got to see what happens with Austin Hooper.
It's being really interesting.
There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent in Cleveland, so we'll see what happens with Cleveland this year. But they beat us last season without all that talent, so we'll see what happens.
Cleveland is a team of overpaid losers with great talent.
They beat us last year. They beat us last year. I wouldn't mind having a team.
They keep churning their coaches in front office.
Exactly. They beat us, but they beat a lot of suckers, man. And, they didn't go anywhere.
I know they got OBJ.
Yeah.
What's his name?
We didn't go anywhere either, though. So I'm still not impressed by your comments.
Well, we turned it around, though. We turned it around. We had the opportunity to. At
the end of the day, we turn it around and we beat some teams with some bad records.
You always say that, man.
I wasn't. No. I honestly wasn't impressed by the turnaround at the end of the season for the Falcons. A lot of people were like, "Oh, we turned around. We won some games." I'm like, "Yeah, you beat Jameis Winston, 30 for 30. You beat Carolina with Cam Newton not playing and them just pretty much, just folding in on their season. I wasn't impressed by those last few wins for the Falcons, to tell you the truth.
We beat the Saints.
Yeah. You beat the Saints, and I'll give you that one. But other than that, the rest of them were not impressive.
But you got to think, too, the Saints was already probably playing a second team at this point. They was already the playoffs. It was already the playoffs, so they weren't really going all out.
No. They go all out for us, man, because they know it's anybody's game. Yeah, they do. They were mad. They were mad, bro.
We actually stopped them. If they'd have beat us, they would have made the playoffs. We actually stopped them from making the playoffs that game when we beat them week 10.
Mm-hmm. And I brought that up on the last show. Y'all told me I was wrong. So thank goodness somebody else brought it up on this show, and now I'm right again. But yeah.
Did JR drop out?
Yeah, we lost him somewhere.
Let me see if I can add him back.
Oh man, I know his mic keep going in and out too.
Yeah.
He may try to restart his computer.
Yeah.
I got knocked out. I had to restart. So,
Man.
hey man, we'll see what the Falcons do this year. But playoffs, a deep playoff run.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
I'm worried. I'm like Al. I'm worried about Dirk Cutter, especially now that I know that his offense has officially been reinstalled. Which is the reason why it looked very stale last year. It was boring to watch. It really was. So I'm really concerned about that. I mean, he now has 11 former first rounders on this offense. He can put 11 guys on offense out there. I don't even know if that's going to even do anything, because at the end of the day, you still got to go up against other human beings on the other side of that ball, and you can only cause so much within your scheme. So
I agree.
And that's what we missed so much about Shanahan, man. He knew how to put some pieces together. He started off shaky, but he turned it around and got it figured out. And Dirk Cutter just couldn't figure it out the whole season.
So can I ask a question real quick? Does anyone believe that this Falcons team, with Matt Ryan getting older, Julio getting older, does anyone really believe that there's enough years left that we can get back to not just the playoffs, but back to a division championship, a conference championship, or
it's got to be now, Q. I mean, not years. It's got to be.
It's not going to be now, and I don't think it's now. Does anybody think it's now?
It's going to have to be. It's no other way around it. You just said it yourself. Everybody's getting old.
Yeah,
they're not the same as 4 or 5 years ago. Right. It's got to be now.
Let me ask you this question. This is a question I've been thinking, and I was talking to my wife about. I've been thinking about.
Hold on one second. Let me tell you this, and you can finish. JR's lost his internet connection, so I'm going to call him on his phone and bring him back in. But go ahead and keep going.
Okay, cool. Let me just ask this one question. Does anyone think that we can finish on top of Tampa Bay this year with Brady being in Tampa Bay?
Cannot answer that right now.
I think there's a chance that Carolina might finish at the bottom of the division. I think New England. Not New England. Sorry, New Orleans might finish at the top of the division.
That's gonna hurt a lot of guys. And
what I saw.
Yeah, right on.
Okay, cool.
Oh, y'all hear me now?
Oh yeah, you back? Okay, cool.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
What I've heard is they're planning on just testing all the players, and if all the players test positive, they're going to continue with the season, even if it means without fans in the stands, which is fine with me. I'm so bored at this point. I'm sending butt pictures to my counterparts. I'm so bored of that. I'm so bored at this point. I'm kind of like, I don't care if I see NFL football play without people in the stands, as long as I can see live sports.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with that.
I think there's still going to be some football, but see, the other thing you got to understand about Tom Brady is Tom Brady's been playing at a Earhart-Perkins offense and a West Coast offense most of his career. He's never played in the Air Coryell, which is a vertical attack. Tom Brady's arm in a vertical attack is not the same as it used to be in his earlier years. So this is going to be very interesting because Bruce Arians likes to push the ball downfield a lot. So if you're counting on a 43-year-old whose arm is not the same and looking like Drew Brees' arm to push the ball down the field to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin them a lot of times on the field, you might be running into a danger zone there. You're going to have to be able to run the ball, what Tampa Bay has
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because ESPN.com doesn't have anything to report, so they just be coming up with stories to report. And ESPN.com earlier this week reported a story that they thought that Brady could still put the ball downfield. That was one of the things. That was one of the stories they headlined on the site on like Tuesday morning when I wake up. I wake up every morning and I checked the site, and that was one of the things they reported. They were like, Brady will be okay in Tampa Bay. They thought that he could still put the ball downfield. So it's funny that you mentioned that because ESPN.com was like, hey, he can still do it.
Hey,
they may think he can still do it, but
right.
Just FYQ, they are still playing old games on NBC Sports.
And I know ESPN is still looking for stuff they need to just put out there to put something out there. But
all I'm going to say is I can't wait to see what Tom and Mike Evans do. That's going to be awesome.
Oh no, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
Tom, outside of New England, is an interesting case to begin with. Like, we've never seen it. Just like when Peyton went to Denver. Peyton out of Indy. Now, granted, Peyton had to deal with. Did he have to deal with a few different coaches, like Caldwell and Dungy? I might be wrong on that.
I don't remember, but did he win a Super Bowl?
He did win a Super Bowl in Denver. I mean, obviously.
Right.
But he won it with a defense. Now, the first few years he was there in Denver, their offense was damn near unstoppable. But it was, eventually it was the defense that came away with it, that put the second ring on Peyton's finger.
Yeah. It's funny that we're talking about these two guys, and they actually playing right now in the old game, Indiana and New England.
Oh, are they really? That's cool.
In Indianapolis, I mean, yeah.
Is that on the
Pretty good
NFL network?
NBC Sports.
Oh. I
Yeah.
saw that they were supposed to play that notorious Super Bowl tonight at 7.
And this was when Randy Moss was with New England.
Right.
Pretty good game.
But I thought they were going to play our Super Bowl tonight too.
They probably will. They get to enjoy.
I hope they don't. I've seen it too many times.
Yeah, that's what everyone's saying. I think it was posted on the NFL's Twitter page.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this much. I know part of why Tom Brady's over in this division. He wants to continue to taunt the Falcons, and we better whip his ass.
But can we?
Need to.
But can we though? I would love to see it, but can we? That's the question. Can we?
Doesn't matter if we can or not. We better find some kind of energy to whip this man behind, because I'm not trying to hear it. I'm telling you. That's all we need is for him to come over here after beating us the way they did.
Yeah.
The worst comeback, the worst the worst Super Bowl ever for the Atlanta Falcons, and the best comeback by the New England Patriots. That's why they keep playing it. We need to put him in the dirt right now. I ain't talking about physically kill him, but on that field, it's time for him to go.
Yeah, we need to make him feel his 43 years. That much is for sure. We need to make him question his decision to, continue playing and not just hang it up.
Welcome to the South, Mr. Brady.
Right, exactly. Let him feel what this heat feels like down here, and what this humidity feels like down here.
Oh yeah.
But so I know we had some technical difficulties there, and I think right in the middle of me asking y'all about y'all's opinion on the draft, I don't know if I might have missed all that with my hang-ups. But is there anybody that y'all got your eye on as far as the Falcons are concerned?
Man, that's a good question.
And
there's a lot of good defensive players out there coming.
Right, and then what I'll follow that up with, or at least pair it with, is do you think we should be worried about trying to find a Devondre Campbell replacement in the draft?
Good one. Good question.
I mean, anything good on defense we can get, I'm all for it. I mean, whereas the corners, you know what I mean?
Same here.
Yeah. I mean, we finally got rid of one headache in True Fun, so.
Oh, no. One headache in True Fun.
He was a headache. He was a headache.
Man,
there were times that man was like, especially early on in his career with us, that he was locked down. Yeah. Like he was a shutdown corner. Like guys would not throw at him. And then he got hurt that first time in 16, and he just was never 100% right after that.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, you know how they get when they get that money. It's never the same.
That's when it,
You know?
that's a good point, because that's when you saw true change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Got that money.
same with Freeman, but it's with injuries. I'm not saying that they just didn't play anymore. I just said that injuries happened, and that could affect, confidence, or I don't know, urgency.
There's a lot of different things that can go into factor, and I know earlier I spoke about not necessarily wanting to like bash Dimitrov. I guess you could throw that re-signing Trufant before he come back,
Right.
Hell yeah.
But that'll probably go down as a black eye. I didn't think about that then. Like, you could have franchised him for a year and seen, like, if he was really back, kind of deal,
Right.
before just signing him to a long-term extension. So yeah, that'll probably definitely go down as a bad decision on Dimitrov's part.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this much. Now that you brought that up, one thing that may have determined some of Dimitrov's decision on that is how they handled the Brett Grimes situation. They did franchise Brett Grimes, and he ended up tearing his Achilles in the first game against Kansas City in 2012. I think they wanted to handle this a different way, and if Trufant was their guy, they was going to roll the dice and go ahead and take a chance of signing him. But once again, I think this was another impactful influence of Rich McKay to say, bump what his dead money going to be. We know we can roll some of that over in the next 2 years. You got to go. I can't see Thomas Dimitrov and Dan Quinn making both. I'm actually shocked that Desmond Trufant gone. Now, I saw Devontae Freeman gone, but I didn't see Desmond Trufant and Devontae in the same day.
Right.
That's just me.
Yeah, that definitely spoke of a new sheriff in town.
Yep.
So to speak.
The enforcer.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good moniker.
Hey, Rob, I'm gonna start calling him that now.
I was about to say, y'all don't be mad if he turns up on a thumbnail on the channel with the title enforcer across it. That might actually be the thumbnail for this show.
Do it. Just give us a shout out, man. Just give us a shout out.
Oh yeah, y'all definitely gonna have that. Yeah, y'all definitely gonna have a shout out for sure.
That now, yeah, the enforcer, man. That's exactly what he's doing. Right.
Yeah, big brother, man, big brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah, big brother. I can't wait to see what Big Brother's going to do at this draft.
Oh, yeah. I'm very interested to see because, I mean, the only thing I keep thinking about with this particular draft is it doesn't seem like there's a lot of, like, superstar talent.
Right.
There's a handful of superstar guys, like your Chase Youngs,
right.
Possibly your Jeff Okudah, potentially Joe Burrow, potentially.
Right.
But outside of like 3 or 4 guys, there isn't any like what I would consider like supreme elite talent. There's a lot of solid talent that could develop into elite.
Well,
do we start looking at quarterbacks to replace Matt Ryan?
No, not even close.
I mean to start training up behind him.
No, but that's not the way the NFL works anymore. Now, if we were like 5, 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, sure. Like, if we were still in the Brett Favre era, right? Yes, you would be drafting a replacement this year or next year to train for a couple of years. But that ain't the way the NFL works anymore, guys. The NFL works that you run your quarterback till he can't play no more. You suck for a year or two until you get a high draft pick. And you get a quarterback and move on. Like, that's the new model. Like drafting somebody in the first or second round and letting them sit for 2, 3 years.
Right.
No, man, we need a return on the investment like now.
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
Because the price,
I agree.
Their asking price keeps it going up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, I mean, I think what Matt Ryan's 34 years old. He'll be 35. Sometime in the season, is that right?
If that line don't start blocking, we're going to start needing to look now.
Now look, that's true, obviously, but 50 sacks, you can't take that too many times. And
No.
I mean, look at Tony Romo, right?
Matt
Ryan, we've been
flag on his own. He probably put up
exactly.
a flag on his own.
Matt Ryan has been extremely durable in his career, and we're lucky for that.
Yep.
But that could start changing. But what else was I going at? No, I think probably in the next 2 to 3 years is when you may start looking at a replacement. But heck, man, with the way these quarterbacks are playing now, I mean, we're talking about 43-year-old Tom Brady getting what, $60-something million?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers isn't that young either.
Yeah.
Right. So, right.
Yeah.
You can't tattoo these quarterbacks like you used to. So these guys are being able to play for a lot longer.
Right.
Well, the only difference here between Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Matt Ryan is Drew Brees and Tom Brady didn't take a lot of hits throughout their career. Tom Brady is pretty much so fresh.
Right.
It really wasn't until last year where you started seeing Tom Brady getting tagged because the offense, he lost a lot of his star pieces.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. You're right about that.
And JR, to go back to what you were saying about the draft and about there's not being a lot of talent in there, that's going to really come down to how good your GM is in picking, because just because there are not a lot of big names that we know of in the draft, there could be some diamonds in the rough, man. Because when we got Vic Beasley over Grady Jarrett, no one was expecting a lot from Grady Jarrett.
From Brady, right. No, and I'm glad you brought that point up, because that's kind of where I was trying to steer this part of the conversation.
Right.
Is that I think this draft is full of guys who have the coaching staff to bring that potential out. And I see guys like Josh Uche and Zach Braun and Kenny Willix, I think is his name, up in Michigan State, as guys who have a ton of potential because they didn't really play any one position in college. Right. It was the same deal with Devondre Campbell coming out of Minnesota. Right. Campbell played all over the defense. And, we're going to need that kind of guy again,
I agree.
Hey, fellas, I'm dropping out. Great
All right,
conversation.
Man.
Great conversation, Steve. I'm dropping out. Great conversation, and I wish you all the best, man. Stay corona-free, and then hopefully we can talk to each other again soon.
All right, man. Have a good night. Thanks.
Right,
good night. Yeah. Good night, fellas, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Later.
Peace. Yeah.
So I guess. Right, I guess what I'm getting at is would be considered your diamond in the rough that have caught your eye in this process, and have y'all even started looking at that process yet? I get bored.
And I think that Rich McKay is good at finding that kind of talent. Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think that's why Arthur Blank want to bring him back in.
Yeah, and I not outside the obvious stuff, I'm really just listening to what everybody's saying, but I haven't really formed an opinion like, oh, I got to have this guy, I got to have that guy. But I am listening to what everyone's talking about, the rumblings and stuff, and who they want, the Chase Youngs and whoever else is out there. But it should be interesting on draft and how they actually do the draft now, thanks to Corona.
That is a thing that I'm glad you brought up, Rock, because things that we were seeing floating out on Twitter is that they're actually getting EA involved in the potential draft process of having virtual representation of the players doing the walk across the stage.
That would be interesting.
What the players would like, that representation to be. Basically they're giving these guys a choice of how would you interact with Roger Goodell? Right. Would you try to do the chest bump or the bear hug or whatever? And the enforcer, as he has now been dubbed, had a quote saying that whatever they decide to do, the NFL is really good at making it a spectacle. And then he used the term virtual spectacle. So if I had to take a stab at it, what I would think is that you're going to see basically you're going to have your guys in studio, whether it's the ESPN guys or the NFL Network guys, in studio commentating on who gets picked, right?
Right.
Just like they would always do, because that's the vast majority of the draft show anyway. Is those guys talking about the players, them showing clips and stuff like that.
Right.
And then for the players walking across the stage, I think you're going to get some kind of virtual thing, which would be really interesting. And all this is definitely presenting an interesting challenge for the sports leagues.
Yeah, man. It's like I said. I mean, that's kind of It is like I'm dealing with that right now with what I do.
Oh yeah,
we're doing like re-airs of old games and simulation games, that they're airing now. So it's just pre-simulated games, but they're running it like it's all virtual,
like it's a game.
Yeah,
right.
and we're trying to figure out other ways to do stuff like that while this thing lasts.
That is interesting to hear your take on that. I wonder if in the coming weeks, if like esports type stuff will start to gain some more traction as far as being shown on TV. I'm actually surprised that.
I think so.
Because I think they just had I saw something on Twitter about they had a Madden tournament and who was it? Derwin James won.
Oh, okay.
He beat Tyreek Hill.
I didn't know they were still doing that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they aired it. I think they just, these guys played and they were just posting the results. But I wonder how much long before they do start airing stuff like that.
Well, I think ESPN is doing something tonight, and I think because I know Trae Young was on the radio talking about it, and I think they're going to play NBA 2K, and I think it may be broadcast if it's not doing it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Cool. Well, guys, I think that's all that I had. I don't know, Toby, you got anything else? We've been going
I'm
with this
good,
about
man.
an hour now.
Y'all know we can go all night, so yeah, I'm good though.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Well,
man.
guys,
I'm out of beer.
There you go. Well, guys, we very much appreciate y'all taking the time, fighting through technical difficulties, and coming on the channel with us. I saw the other day that y'all started up a YouTube channel yourselves with the your social type, the Social Mess podcast.
Yeah, man.
Is there anything else that y'all want to plug?
Well, yeah, definitely want to. We used to do our Social Mesh. We didn't do that many episodes, but we did it as an audio podcast just to take a different break from just talking Falcons and football all the time. Because if you listen to our show, we go all over the place. So I saw how you guys were just getting all these followers and and getting these numbers up, man, on YouTube. And I'm like, how can we do something on YouTube? So I kind of came up with that. I figured that show would be a good test show to see. And then hopefully going forward, we can somehow transition What's Up Falcons online. So, check it out, y'all. Let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
Give us some feedback.
And we'll definitely have the links to the page and everything else in our show notes. Do y'all have any Twitter handles or anything y'all want to plug? Anything like that?
Mostly at What's Up Falcons on Twitter. And if you want to see Q's butt, is at Q What's Up Falcons on Twitter.
Oh, Lord. Enter that one at your own risk right there, people.
Exactly.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Hey, just FYI.
People, you can find me on.
They are playing the Falcons New England Super Bowl.
On what channel, so I know not to turn it on?
It's on Fox Sports.
Okay, good. I'll know to avoid that one.
That's all you need to know, man. It tells you all you need to know why Tom Brady over here. But anyway,
that's it.
I say that.
Well, you can y'all can find me on Twitter at Grim1128. That's GRIMM1128. Toby D.
And of course, I'm Toby D. 1991.
And we appreciate y'all. We appreciate everybody who follows and listens and subscribes and comments, and we just thank y'all for coming along this journey with us. And go check out the links to the What's Up Falcons. I'll try to get a link to the podcast itself and to the social mess underneath it. And like I said, we just appreciate y'all's support. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.